नमस्कार, कला कहानी में आपका स्वागत है। कला कहानी के हमारे आज के मेहमान हैं डॉक्टर जयंती कुमरेश और विद्वान कुमरेश। Vidwan Kumaresh is an icon of Carnatic music, child prodigy, violin virtuoso, composer, lyricist, and music director who has been captivating people with his music for the last 4 decades. Dr. Jayanthi Kumaresh is an artist, collaborator, composer, creator, pioneer, and educationist. Her life achievements over 35 years truly embodies the rich musical heritage of India. आज हम दोनों से ही बातचीत करेंगे, लेकिन पहले बातचीत करते हैं डॉक्टर जयंती कुमरेश से। जयंती जी, वेलकम टू कला कहानी।
Namaste, Sadhna ji. What a pleasure talking to you.
So tell me, you represent the 6th generation of musicians who have descended from the tradition of Tyagaraja Swami. And you're the first in your family to abandon the violin and take up the Saraswati Veena. So how did this happen?
I'm not the first. My guru, who's my mausi, my mother's elder sister, Srimati Padmavati Anantagopalan ji, she was the first person to actually perform on the Veena in this family. But this family has so many violinists, legends, Lalguri ji, my cousins, Lalguri Vijay Lakshmi, Lalguri ji J.R. Krishnan, so many violinists. I was surrounded by violins. I was so lucky somehow to start with the Veena. I don't know why my mother started me off at the age of 3 with the Veena. So it would be more appropriate to say that the Veena chose me than I chose Veena, because at 3 I don't know what I would have had the to do. But I'm so glad. And being the 6th generation of musician, what happens is that so much of the hardware of music comes in our genes. So it's our duty to accumulate all the software and get yourself ready. So it's been.
So Veena is a 2000 old instrument?
The evolution of Veena has been in the last 2000 years. Actually, people say it's from the Samved period, when the first Veena was mentioned as an accompaniment to the recitation of Samved. But ever since, it has changed in size, sound, structure, and shape. And today, what we are having is about 300, 400 years old, beautiful Saraswati Veena, which is 24 fretted, 7 stringed, with one main. You can see all the Veenas in the background.
Right.
So, big gourd and a secondary gourd, and this particular Veena is designed like the human body.
How have you made it contemporary for today's listeners?
The Veena being the national instrument of India, I want to retain the intrinsic traditional shape of the instrument. So the changes I have done is in the sound and trying to make it adaptable to even, it's actually called a Ekanta Vadyam, which is mainly made for people around 25 people sitting next to you. But now in a stadium of 20,000 people, Veena can be heard because we have worked on the technique of amplification. And I do not want to compromise and make it electric or anything like that, but we have come out with a way where you can acoustically and also use a pickup and make all the small nuances of this instrument heard and audible. Also, by playing different genres on this instrument also, I think we have made it kind of cool in today's world.
How did you make it with all these technical changes that you did?
Well, we have, my gurus have done all the changes. So what I should do is actually take it a little one step further. They have having this guitar keys instead of the tuning pegs. So the wooden tuning pegs changes with light. The minute the stage, the curtains open and the powerful light comes, immediately the wooden pegs start reacting. So they are using a small machine head keys, which gives more precision in tuning. Also nowadays, to carry the instrument, my Guruji, she designed a Veena where the parts that do not contribute to the sound, like the dragon head, the secondary resonator, can be detached. Okay. And then I don't have to check in this instrument and wait for Are Baba, how will this instrument come out? I can keep it in the cabin with me.
Oh, that's a big thing, because we've heard horror stories of instruments being broken.
I said, this is a big luxury to have your baby with you.
I believe Veena used to be held upright originally. And even today, in some temples, it is done so. Why did this change, and how did this change?
The style of keeping the veena like that is called Urdhva style. So somehow people felt very comfortable playing like that. But
Right.
the actual use of the secondary resonator, and when you keep it on your left thigh, the flexibility you get with your hand, you don't have to focus anymore on holding the instrument. You can only focus your left hand on the actual play. And see, sitar is lighter. So if you just press your right hand here, it's fine. But for veena, when we pluck, we don't do like sitar both ways. We pluck only one way. सितार
Right.
ऐसे करते हैं ना. So
Mm.
it's useful to keep it like this and play and keep your left hand free. But veena, we have to do this only one way of plucking, for which this way of horizontal keeping the veena helps a lot. But even today, there is a temple in Sri Rangam, Ranganatha Swami temple, where every night for the god, there are 5 or 6 veena players who traditionally come every night and play for him. They tie the veena in their neck and stand and play.
Despite being a musician, you chose to study music and then you did your research on the Veena and you got a doctorate in it too. Why did you think that was necessary?
My Guruji always believed that to represent an instrument like the veena to the world, I must have complete knowledge of communication. So she put me in French class up to conversation. She would send me to dance class so that I am empowered to compose for dance. And then she would ask me to read the newspaper every day and watch the news so that when I'm giving a talk, I am relevant in today's context. But during my Gurukula Vasam period, she was consistent in her demand that I spent 99% of my time in the riyas. So allowing me to go to school, finishing my homework, or even studying for my 10th grade was as if she was giving me some vacation. She said, okay, if you finish playing, maybe half an hour you can study. That's all. It was like letting your children to go to play, right? So I had to sneak that from her. But in spite of that, I was lucky enough to finish MA in English literature and then MA in music. But what happens is when you get a PhD in the subject that you are trying to, for instance, today if I have to give a talk on the science, origin, and evolution of the Veena, that theory kind of empowers you with a sense of authenticity when you say something. When you have actually spent 6 or 7 years of your life researching on that, you are more confident and there is a little more value for what you're saying if you've actually done the research yourself. So, which is why I thought that bit of academic studying would actually help.
What was your training like? I mean, in a Guru Shishya Parampara where you stay with your Guru and you learn. So, how is the day there? What time do you wake up? Is there particular time for teaching, or whenever they think, or they're in a mood to teach you, that's when they teach you? What was it like?
Oh, my guru had a huge timetable that was stuck in my room. So every day, 4 o'clock, we had to wake up and practice till 7 o'clock. And then she would allow me some time to finish up my homework, go to school. So she would wait for me. In fact, she would say, if nothing's happening in the afternoon, you can come back home. But I would come back only after the school is over. And after that, she would immediately give me 5 minutes and then 2 hours practice. And then every evening, you have to play like you're playing a concert. Every 6 o'clock is a concert time. So she'll say, imagine you're playing in Shanmukanand's today. Imagine you're playing in Music Academy today. So how would you put your set list? Imagine your co-artists are there. There would be fun moments when I would be so tired and I would just keep quiet. She said, remember, this is a concert. Then I'll tell her, yeah, the Mridangam artist is playing now, so I'm just keeping quiet. So you had to play a whole concert. And at the end of it, by around 8:30, she would come and give me feedback of what all I could have done better. And then she would teach me. And
Okay.
every once in a while, once in 3-4 days, she would play recordings of the great masters of the past. And I had to listen to that and write about what I learned in that and notate a few songs from that and all of that. So it was a very complete, I think I'm very, very blessed to have got a guru who had an overall perception like that.
Do you think that kind of teaching is could be done even today?
Teaching can be done. Ask if the
No,
student.
the Guru Shishya Parampara, where the student stays with the Guru and then learns. Is it possible in today's environment and in today's lifestyle?
If the student has the mental strength to go through that, then it is. See, when we were with our gurus, we never had WhatsApp, Facebook, we didn't have all the Instagrams, no cell phone, nothing. That huge telephone which randomly would ring. So now communication has become, life has changed so much. So to find a student who will stay like that and without distraction, spend that 18 hours a day with the guru, if it happens, that would be great.
Tell me, I believe you play compositions which are specially created for the Veena.
No, the way the Carnatic music structure is that there is a great scope for improvisation and there is a great bank of composition. One misnotion many people have is that Carnatic music is full of compositions of the Trinity. It's not like that. The way initially was we had 80% ala and 20% composition. And then when the Bhakti movement came in, there were so many composers and so many compositions. So these compositions became an intrinsic part of the concert pattern. And that's how the compositions crept in into the concert structure. Earlier, each rag alap would go for 2 hours. But then now, this 45 minutes and both compositions ho gaya. So what happens is the rag alap, then what we call as tanam, which is the equivalent of jodjala. And then we have Pallavi, which is a one-line composition which is fully improvised. And then we have the Ragmala, which is also improvised. So these are all things that we do both in vocal and in instrument, which is totally improvised. We do have compositions, great masterpieces, but I wouldn't say that the entire system revolves around that. So the chance that a musician has to show their musicality is in the improvisation part. And even in the composition part, unlike Western musician, where we have to reproduce the composition exactly like Beethoven or Mozart wanted it, here we have the freedom to recreate the composition. Uska intrinsic spirit retain karna hai, bas.
Tell me, when did you first hear Kumaresh ji?
Oh, when I was just 5 years old. There's
Okay.
a place called Thiruvayaru, which is the Samadhi of Saint Tyagaraja Swami. And every year in January, there is the Aradhana for Tyagaraja Swami. So my mother had taken me there and it was past 8:30 and I had fallen asleep on her lap. And there was suddenly a big hullabulla and hustle bustle around me saying that these two people are going to play. So my mother woke me up and said, hey, watch, two kids are going to play. I said, now this is senior time. And then everyone was sitting and these two people walked up the stage and there was such a big round of applause. And they were accompanied by some very, very leading senior percussionists. And I remember they played this composition called Darini Telusu Konti in the Ragam Durga, which we call as Suddha Saveri. And it was a jet speed. They are known for their speed, Ganeshji and Kumareshji. So I was like baffled and I was completely awake. And following that, I have attended several concerts as a child and tried to scramble for a space in the hall, which would be overflowing at that time to watch the brothers play.
Okay, that was then when you were both children.
Yes.
When did he start quoting you as a grown up?
Not quoting, we were friends, we were colleagues. I used to go to their concerts. He has come to my performances, and we were kind of family friends too. So my aunt would really like them and invite them over. So we've met each other, but we've never thought about a marriage or a relationship like that. So it was the Acharya of Kanchi who initiated this thought process and asked Kumaresh and told him, marry this girl. So you can't call it an arranged marriage, you can't call it a love marriage, it was an ordained marriage.
Your husband, Kumaresh ji, is a highly acclaimed violinist. Is he at home right now?
He is.
Is he?
Can,
Can we request him to join us, please?
Absolutely. I'll just call him. Give me a moment.
Yeah.
Just the phone.
Silent income.
Kumaresh ji, welcome to Kala Kahani. It's so nice that you could join us today.
Namaste ji. Such a pleasure to be part of this wonderful series that you are doing.
I was asking Jayanti ji about interpreting vocal compositions on the instrument. Can I have your perspective on this?
All the divine beings, they play musical instruments. You see, Saraswati Ma, she plays musical and she plays the veena, she doesn't sing. Lord Krishna, he plays the bansuri or the flute, he doesn't sing. Shiva plays the damaru, he doesn't sing. Vishnu plays the conch, he doesn't sing. And wherever you see any divine sculpture, they always play a musical instrument. We have seen Ganesha, contemporary Ganesha play the guitar, keyboard, drums and all that. So whenever there's a depiction of a divine energy, it is always with a musical instrument. Why? Instruments are the vehicle of music. They produce music. Yeah, our tradition, in our older tradition, every musical instrument was called a veena. The veena that Jayanti ji plays is the Saraswati Veena. Then there is Rudra Veena. Then violin was called Dhanur Veena. So we have all the instruments were called as something plus a veena. Like Santur is called Shatatantri Veena. Even voice is called as a Sharira Veena or Gatra Veena. So instruments are the edifice on which the entire music system is evolved and developed. So there is no necessity for any instrument to try and be a mouthpiece or a caricature of vocal music. Vocal music has a different dimension. Instrumental music has a very different dimension. Also, I would like to add that instruments have directly impacted the system, both Carnatic and Hindustani music in its own way. In South, when they sing a raga, it is so short syllables. Why? It is because in the veena, when you strum a note, the life of the note is very short. In Hindustani music, if you look at it, all the instruments have a long and reverbed sound. For example, you have sitar, you have sarod, you have sarangi. They have the sound of the sustain that those instruments have are pretty long. So hence, when the musicians sing, it's a long note directly reflecting the way the instruments sound in that system. So vocalists have adapted their music completely from the instruments. So
we didn't know that. Kumaresh ji, you are known for your jugalbandis with your elder brother, Ganesh ji, as well as with North Indian instrumentalists like Ustad Shahid Parvez ji, Pandit Tejan Narayan Majumdar. Could you tell us about your experience with playing solo, with playing jugalbandis, and with your collaborations with other musicians?
See, my journey, my name, fame, everything I got is with my brother. We are known as Ganesh Kumaresh Duo. That has been a very enriching, how to say, he's my brother, he's my guru, and he's my partner. Oh, that's a deadly combination. So, all the dynamics of that three relationship is visible in that partnership. We have these 47 years of music. There is so much that I have learned in that journey as a musician along with my brother. And in a way, I can say that we have been able to impact the way instrumental music is perceived. So when I play Jugalbandi with Uttaji, Shahid Bhai is one of my most favorite sitar player. One particular album which he had done with Dagir Bhai, in which he has played Rageshri. Aha, what an album! I keep listening to this all the time. So playing with him, playing with Tejendra Bhai, playing with Ronuji, playing with many Purbayanji, play a lot with him also. What happens is, see, ultimately music universally is 7 notes. It is a way we approach the dynamics of the space between two notes, the way we express our system, the sound changes. But the concept is the same. You create some sound using those 7 notes. We call it raga. Western musicians call it modes or harmonics or whatever. So we express our emotion through what we know, and the counterpoint comes from the other person. He expresses his emotion. I have a wish. I'm looking for a day when a musician is taught both the system, both Hindustani and Carnatic. There is a lot to learn from both the systems. And if somebody can master both and have a complete music, that will be a different dimension altogether. It is complementing each other, not competing, not challenging. The idea is to create beautiful music, beautiful sound, great vibration, and wonderful energy. That is the idea of performing together, Jugalbandi.
You also
I-
play with your wife, Jayanti ji, strings
Absolutely.
attached. So
Absolutely.
could you tell us about that? How did it begin? How did it start?
After a marriage, we used to go for concerts out together, and we have our own practice schedules and all that. One, I think it was a Sunday morning, we were sitting together and she was making breakfast. There is a beautiful song on the sun god. It is called Surya Murte Namostute by Swami Dikshitar. So I asked her, if you know the song, can you teach me? I want to learn that song. So she said, why not? So we finished our breakfast, we were sitting together. So she brought the veena, I tuned my violin to her pitch and we both were playing. We somehow liked the sound of the both instruments together. A characteristic feature of veena is this space between two sounds, silence between two notes. And beauty of violin is the long bow that you can. They are opposites, but the complementing sound that came out was like, it's very nice. It was very sweet to our ears. We got married in Tirupati. 4 years after marriage, we got a call from Tirumala, Alavela Manga's, there's a beautiful temple there following Alavela Mangaji. During a Brahmotsavam, they wanted both me and Jayanti ji to play. That's how Strings Attached journey started, playing together.
Tell me what you like most about her as a musician.
There is no difference between her musical ability and her personality. They're one. She is a musical person. What I love about her is the poise, the grace, the finesse that she has in doing everything. She's unparalleled. She doesn't, there is not a time when you can see her not in her poise. She's always there.
Have you said this to her?
Yeah. At the right times.
Tell me, when did you first hear her?
I heard her when she was playing a concert in Indian Fine Arts. I think she was 13 or something by that time. Around 13 or 14. Yeah, many senior musicians were there to listen to the concert because she was like looked upon as the future of playing the veena. So the sound she created, the sound of the veena was fantastic. And she had that grace, poise even then. The way she performed, the way she shaped her musical sound. She played Sahan, I still remember. And it was a beautiful experience.
Both of you are very busy musicians, very busy artists who are just traveling around the globe. How do you manage to do your normal chores? For example, logistics of managing a home, paying taxes. How do you manage this?
You don't manage because the way we used to travel, there are many times when we have met in airports. I have forgotten to pay tax, and an auditor will remind me in the month of December, sir, what sir, you have not paid tax? And I said, oh my God. After that, get all the records and send it to him, and then I'll pay my taxes at penalty in the month January or February. And many times our phone will get disconnected or internet will get disconnected. Yes, we have this ECS, all that we can do, but to sit and do that is an ordeal.
We have a very beautiful group of students who do help us out. So especially when we are on travel, they come and take care of something here at home. And then in the middle of a rehearsal, suddenly I would say, did you pay your bill? And then we would say, did you turn off the cooker? And when we are on the way to the concert, I'll say, I don't know if I turned off the gas. So I mean, it would be so many things. The switch between the ethereal and the mundane would be oscillating so much. But I'm sure, with God's grace and so many friends, students, and everything, we have been able to a great extent manage this.
Yeah, it manages itself. Very difficult to manage all that. But this 4 months, what Corona has done, very lot of bad things are happening. This is the kind of time any musician will ask for to understand what is music for our own. Playing music for myself, she for herself. That we don't get when you perform, when you play for, keep performing. It's always you're in performance mode.
Both of you have played a lot with Ustad Zakir Hussain.
Ah.
Now, how has it been? What kind of experience have you had playing with him? It must be something different.
See, he's a phenomenon. He's a musician everybody should aspire to be as a personality. He's a fantastic musician, everybody knows about that. But as a person, there is so much that you learn from a man. So every time you play with him, you end up wanting more, to be within that aura of that energy, that space.
Mm-hmm.
So he lets you bring your best. He doesn't boss that he has, he can push his aura onto you, which is what he is.
Thank you very much for taking time out for us and being with us today.
Such a great pleasure talking to you. You have been on so many stages, so many functions. You have put together and held together and anchored so many events. I think it's a really great blessing for people that you thought of bringing many artists together in this beautiful garland that you're creating on meeting with several musicians. It's really wonderful that you thought of doing something like this for the field of art. And I wish you all the best for this. Not that you need it, but we're all with you and we've been great admirers of you for many years now.
For having me. Thank you for having us. Such a pleasure. All the best with your beautiful venture. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes.